right, I call the meeting to order. It's a little after 5. I call the special meeting to order, and I guess we can do roll call. My name's Don Griffin.
David Walter.
Eric Sandweiss.
Carney.
Oh, and go ahead. I'm Doris Sims, staff.
Okay.
Jeff Underwood, Controller Treasurer.
Christina Finley, Hand Department.
Larry Allen, Legal.
All right, so I really don't have to act as, I guess we can just start the agenda, right?
Yeah.
There's no, yeah. So yeah, what do we need? What's going on?
So I guess I'll introduce Jeff Ryan. So Jeff is with Real America. So the whole purpose of tonight's meeting, and Jeff can introduce the person who's with him, is to provide information. Oh, it must be Bruce Berry. If I looked at the slides, I could see who's their director of design.
If I come
So
up
what we
here.
wanted to have with this special meeting is to provide with not only to the public, but to the Redevelopment Commission, an outline of the proposed affordable housing development that would take place at the 1730 South Walnut Street site, which is the former Night Moves property that's owned by the city, that we have partnered with Real America to build affordable housing. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff Ryan.
Good evening. As Doris said, we're with Real America and talking about what we're calling Retreat at the Switchyard. With that great park going in, we wanted to associate ourselves with that. I'm Jeff, this is Bruce. So the property, as she said, the old Night Moves, and you can see the site here is in the blue outline. It's kind of an odd shape. So coming in off of Walnut, there is a shared access on that. That's the rectangle, find my mouse, that's right here, a shared access site. One of the tricky parts of it is where you get to the west side of the site and it starts to drop off, and this red dashed line is an existing utility easement. So we couldn't get into that. And so with that gives you an L-shaped building. Again, using, you can see the utility easement that's going in through here, sanitary, and then it starts to drop off in this area, gets to significant grade differences over here as it goes down to a creek in this area. What this is showing is a small amount of outside parking here, with then, this is the ground floor that has retail on the front, and then parking on the ground floor, and then it has the apartments that go above it. And we were down there and saw some of the architectural style that's going in and the colors, and we thought, that could be cool to play off of, because that's some, good looking designs that they're putting in on that. So that was the starting point for us. And so you see on here with this, what's this? Butterfly roof on here and the materials of it. So with our design, again, this is where the ground floor is with the parking, within the apartments above. So we're playing off of that with a butterfly roof on here and using some of the same materials and colors that are in there. And this is the view that would be looking at the park. So this is the southwest corner of the building. Just pulling back a little bit, again, southwest corner over here is the northwest corner going up to, wait, do I have my directions wrong? The front of the building is over here. This is the back that's facing the park. Way over on this side is facing Walnut. So this is the retail on here that is facing Walnut Street, again, with the parking underneath, and then the building coming up above that. And one thing that I like about the design that Bruce did is the way that this retail space comes out it actually hides some of that parking that's back there. So especially if you're coming from downtown going south on Walnut, you're not going to see parking until you're past the building. So this is the south side of the building. That is the south side. South side is facing the park. And a little overview, we have 64 apartments in there, with 50 of them projected to be affordable and 14 market rate. For the affordable, we're doing average income, so doing them from 30% to 80% of area median income. So that gives a very wide range of rents and incomes. Planning on setting aside 20 to 25% of them for Stone Belt's clients, for developmentally disabled, to have integrated supportive housing. Then with the majority of them being the workforce housing, a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. And as we committed to, 99-year affordability on it, and the ground floor commercial. The schedule is a little bit unusual this year because of the pandemic, so that was delayed. Instead of having a July application date, it has now been switched to September 18th, and instead of a November allocation, the allocation date has been changed to January 28th. Assuming we're successful, the rest of our schedule would not change much from what we had before. We'd be looking at closing on the finance and starting construction in July. About 16 months for construction puts us in October of 22, to start leasing, November to finish, and then 5 or 6 months to lease up. So that covers what we have on that, and be happy to go through any again, or answer any questions on that.
How much square footage is the commercial portion?
The commercial is about 3,000 square feet. 3,500. I've been corrected.
$3,500. Do you have any idea what you want to put there? Or are you just going to do the commercial space, do a vanilla space, and then try to get market rate for it, try to get someone in there?
What we want to do is to work with the city to find an appropriate user. So yeah, we want to rent the space out, but we're not just going to take whoever. We never just take whoever comes along.
Sure.
We have other buildings that we have commercial space in, and we've had people come up and say that they wanted to put something in, and we've said, no, we don't think that's the right fit. So we need to find the right fit that works for us and for the city.
Jeff?
Yes.
Could you speak to the facade materials? Just kind of go through each of those shades, what those represent in terms of actual material?
Certainly. I'm actually going to have Bruce answer those. Want me to put the screen back up?
I can do it from memory, but they probably want to see.
Give me 1 second here.
So the ground floor,
Never mind, sorry.
the ground floor parking would be masonry. It'd either be a brick veneer, or we have maybe explore a precast concrete that's textured to look like brick and painted. The upper floors, the darker gray was a fiber cement lap siding. The lighter gray is a fiber cement panel siding. And then the white was also fiber cement panel siding. Honestly, all of it is fiber cement, just a different variety of texture. The brown outline, or the brown that surrounds the balconies, is still fiber cement, or it might be called, there's a product called Nichiha that's supposed to look a little bit like a stained wood, or and then the red inset inside the balcony is fiber cement as well. It's all real durable materials, no vinyl.
Do you have a sense for what the total budget would be on that project? And then the other question I have is, on your other projects, what are some examples of who the commercial tenants were?
1 second, let me get to your first one there. We are looking at a construction budget of about $11 million and a total budget a little under $15 million. And other commercial tenants we have in South Bend, building that we have there, it has a cafe, an architecture company, and a bar in it. In Fort Wayne, we just got a furniture company. In another building, we have a local farm to table restaurant, hair salon. Somebody else just moved in, but I'm blanking on who that is. So it's been local companies that have been doing business.
Thank you.
Was that a I don't remember, guys. Was that the commercial component? Was that that faces I guess Walnut Street? Was that a component that we insisted on having? Doris, do you remember?
It was a request in the RFI.
Yes. Sorry, I couldn't get off mute quick enough. But yes, that was a requirement that was listed in the RFI.
It was a requirement.
Yes.
That's just a lot. That's a lot of money that could go to more affordable housing. That's all. That's my opinion.
I think we looked at it, Donald, as, you know, on that side of town particularly, there's not a lot of retail. You know, there may be commercial space, but not a lot of retail, and thought that maybe there could be some businesses put there that could serve the residents of the housing complex.
Sure. Yeah, you're right.
Or visitors to the park.
Correct.
It is at the entrance of the park. This is true.
Yeah, I would love it to be a coffee shop, ice cream shop, you know, a cafe kind of thing. I think would be a great use for there.
Especially
Could be a neighborhood t-shirt shop.
Yeah, because
you're funny.
That development, of course, is right next to that. It's the eastern entrance to the park, and the other parking lot for the entrance for parking for the park.
Yeah, it makes sense. You are on a commercial corridor right there, and you're right. There's nothing really. There's very few things facing Walnut Street right now. So this could create a trend. So I see it.
We're gonna take over that McDonald's.
We need to.
I wanted to ask if there were any kind of local design inspirations for the design as you got it sketched out so far. I appreciate how many constraints there are on the site, especially on the budget, and so on. So I know not everything is possible, but are there any particular cues that you could pick up on that say Bloomington to you? What I'm seeing currently as rough as it is something that does sort of resemble the design vocabulary of a lot of the so-called big box kind of student-oriented apartment buildings that have cropped up around town. And I wonder if there are other models or kind of local precedents that can help to inform the look of this as it develops in more specifics from here on out.
Yeah, the design cue that we were using is some current architecture that's new in Switchyard Park. And this is just a first draft, so you know, we are still refining it, but it is doing the very local, not just Bloomington, but our neighbor there of the park.
Hey, and Eric, I think you're starting to recognize the 5/1 design that is so prevalent, where it's everything is done like that for right now. These lower, you have like metal framing on the first level, and then wood on the. Is that how this is done? Metal framing on the, and then wood on the top. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Concrete on the ground to then be able to do the 4 floors of wood on top of it. Yeah. And the reason we did that was to maximize the site. Without doing that, then parking becomes very much a challenge. So we needed to put parking tucked under the building with the apartments above it.
So Jeff, I was wondering, because it's really kind of hard to get an idea of like what Eric was saying with the background of Real America being green, and it looks like the building is all green and gray. If there's any way to get some better, just full shots of what the building looks like.
Sure. Certainly.
Actually, the colors are more the gray. There's a gray, white, dark gray, and red. I didn't want to be completely cliche, but red just kind of spoke to me being in Bloomington. But I tried not to go overboard with it. And we tried to play off of, like Jeff said, the shapes and some of the textures that we saw going in the park. I think that performance space is, there's an outdoor performance space right there that we face. It has that same style roof. We're not necessarily suspending the roof like is in the picture that he has on his screen, but we're trying to imitate that shape a little bit and play off of that and be part of the local character of that specific neighborhood, I guess. But we can definitely get some cleaner images for you.
Hey, Don, this is Cindy. I've got to drop off here shortly. Is there any action that we needed to take?
I don't think so.
now,
I think we're just talking.
Right. So
okay.
I wanted to just be able to present the design to you and get feedback from the commissioners on the design as we move forward regarding the materials, anything that we may have.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions here. First one, on your floor plan, you indicate an elevator. Are you going to be able to hold on to that thing, or the last set of apartment buildings we looked at, they dropped it as they got into development, realizing that they could not afford it?
Oh no, we will stick with the elevator. We would never do a building of this height without an elevator.
Okay, second question concerns this corner area where you have showing some outside seating, umbrellas and so on. Is that part of an apartment or part of a lounge area? If you explain a little bit more about that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, that area, the 2 wings that go off from that are where the apartments are. That area that has the umbrellas and the outside eating is the core where our common area is. So in that area, it has, that would be coming into the common room that has a gathering area, kitchenette, TV, that kind of stuff, the fitness center, management, maintenance. Well, maintenance probably wouldn't be there, but the management office and our other common space. So it plays off of that. So, you know, the community room would be able to have space on that second floor inside, but also on nice days, be able to come outside also.
And then this would be accessible only to the residents, perhaps by key card or something like that?
Correct.
Okay, no further questions.
I have kind of a comment that and I may not be sure. I'm just going to say it. You may get some flack for surface that you're putting on the building, the fiber cement board. You may get some flack for not having either brick or limestone. I mean, some of it. I mean, most of that's okay, but you may need to put some more natural stuff to kind of dress it up.
Okay, we'll look at doing that.
I mean, am I wrong, guys, or will?
No, you're right. I mean, I just spent 4 years on the Plan Commission, and I can tell you wholeheartedly that it's one of those things where even the Plan Commission is getting tired of the 4/1. Even though they would understand the constraints of the site, they'll understand, how much is going to affordable housing. However, they're going to ask for more modulation, because it looks like it's just a long flat building. They don't want to see that. They're going to want to see more architectural appeal, considering it's the entrance into our brand new park. They want to make sure that that's something that's of community appeal in addition to livable. And you're not wrong, Don, in the brick and limestone comment. Most of any that came forward say, utilizing limestone in one of the main architectural facades, automatically was looked at as a very favorable petition coming forward. I think the creativity here is really, really good with the constraints with accessibility. I would just caution on a couple of things. So definitely keep I would never imagine that you get rid of an elevator on a 4-story, because I feel like there's a lawsuit waiting to happen. But the other thing is, I've seen throughout town, anyone that doesn't use key card and just like a handle and a lock, students or people or friends yanking the doors until they finally are just open and breaking them. So I would just be smart about how you're think about use cases, right? Think about the worst case and then implementing that solution to the best of your ability and whatever the budget may be. Because you're going to be in a very high traffic area, and a lot of people are going to want to come to this place.
So regarding your comment about the articulation and the offset of the building not being there, maybe that's a function of the fact that we covered the balconies on the top floor. The ins and outs are ever so often, obviously, but they're not as pronounced as you pointed out. I guess I didn't really see it that way at first, but we could interrupt that so that that vertical slot goes all the way through, and it probably would break the facade down to some more vertical pieces, so that brown, like right over the red, the top, right there. If we kind of eliminated it right there at that plane and let the in and out of the building be a little more prominent, is what I'm kind of hearing. Yeah,
absolutely. Because what you're going to hear is pedestrian appeal. When you're walking by, you don't want some monolithic structure overtowering you. Sure. And so that's kind of where they're going to come. I was on the Plan Commission during the recreation of our Unified Development Ordinance. So taking that amount of time and applying it to this, you already have a very good model, sketch for your petition. They're going to ask you to revise it, but going in ahead of time, knowing that will hopefully decrease the amount of work on that back end.
Sure. We're also going to commit to working with a local architect and getting their input on design. I made some contact with the one that Doris recommended, Spring Point, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah.
And that way we're not completely coming in cold with the ins and outs of being in Bloomington and the design process there. And
yeah, it's a little bit harder here than it is, like, say, Carmel or Zionsville. So, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys.
I guess I would I'd echo some of the things that Nick says, just as both as practical advice, moving forward, and as maybe aesthetic preferences based on seeing a lot of new buildings go up here over the last 10, 15 years. To me, it's almost a question both of simplification and of complexification. That is, I think how it reads anyway from the computer sketches is it's a very it's a big bulky presence, and being able to maybe undulate and modulate and kind of create more of a sense of a village, a retreat, if that's what we're going to call it, that involves some interactive undulating spaces on one hand, but on the other hand maybe simplifying what now read as a lot of different building surfaces and materials and articulations and colors. Maybe that can be there can be a little less of that. There can be a little more of the kind of the massing that one expects in a good solid apartment building, where it doesn't each part doesn't have to be called out in a special way. So I guess I could imagine going in both of those directions. That is, if we can relieve some of the bulk and the flatness of it, and on the other hand, if we can find the right materials and colors that really kind of simplify the current complexity of these many differently articulated surfaces. Again, I realize we're just spectators here, but it's our building too. So I appreciate your giving it us a first chance to kind of weigh in on some of these issues, because it's going to be a huge landmark, huge and a landmark, and it's important to do it right, as you know.
Well, I thought I would share the building back with you so you could see it. Unfortunately, I can't get my video back on.
What are the windows down at the bottom that I'm looking at? Are those on the main floor? Are those is that parking? What is that on the main floor, on the main level?
It's parking, and it's openings. It's not actually windows. It's the parking area. We could I mean, sometimes people fill those with grill work, but that's a budgetary concern as well. We tried to break the essentially the building on top is bigger, is a little bit bigger than the building, the podium that it sits on. So that's why I didn't take a lot of masonry materials up more than one story, because then you've got to support them above there. But the floor plate, with the way the units are, actually cantilevers a little bit past the building on the first floor, and so
see that.
So,
yeah, it's a hard spot in the sense that it's not just your road frontage isn't like, you've really got three different elevation. I mean, the thing has to be pretty from behind because it's overlooking the park. And then on the side there, it also has to look attractive because it's got a lot of frontage. That's the driveway into the park. And then you've got the main frontage, which is on Walnut Street. So it's not an easy, especially when we're talking about an affordable component in there. It's a challenge. It looks good though. I'm not.
And that's why we did do this as four-sided architecture. We didn't dumb down one side of it in any way. We knew that there'd be the views from every direction. So we're doing it that way.
Well, I do like how you step down for your retail along South Walnut to, break up that mass, because majority of people will be looking at this building doing 30, 35 miles an hour, and they'll sense that one story area and that there's something behind it. So, perhaps that's where you want to put the most bang for the buck, is making that one story the best looking instead of just repeating some of the materials you're already using already. Just my thoughts. Doesn't mean a lot.
From my experience, if we're talking about that main level, with what you're doing, you know, you can't just have a solid, void, I mean, solid mass. So breaking it up with with what you're calling like open space windows kind of stuff, it's good. What I've also seen is working on establishing almost like a grate that you can put public art on, or commissioned work that that has gone well in the past. And I know Bloomington's trying to model itself like other cities that are doing that, to bring at the end of the day it's a parking garage. I understand, because we talked about this for the 4th Street garage as well. However, bringing some visual interest to that area, as Dave was saying, is going to be will be requested or looked at, because it's kind of just there.
Sure.
Might as well, you're walking by it, might as well make it somewhat attractive.
Which side would you focus that on? Would you focus that on the Walnut Street side or the Park side, or?
I would focus on the Park side.
Okay.
People are driving past really fast on Walnut. You're not going to be seeing too much. It's the people walking around that are going to be seeing it.
And in the Walnut, I mean, the building. You kind of created human scale because of the building that's in the front. If we're calling that a separate building, but yeah, I think behind at the park.
Yeah, I can kind of see the blockiness now. It really didn't, but I do now. I can work on that.
That's why these collaborative teams work.
Yep.
We're all in it together.
And like we said, in the next couple of weeks, we should have a local architect on board to help us out also, and put in new ideas on it. I think what you're seeing here is pretty much just Bruce's idea. So, he's one person, and we'll branch that out a little bit and get somebody local.
And it's a great first run. I'm not taking anything away from that. So
It is. It's a pretty building.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have any other questions, guys? All right. Doris? Is Doris still here?
I don't have anything else. I just want to thank both Jeff and Bruce for presenting this preliminary design. And I want to thank all the commissioners for their comments. So hopefully that we can be able to that they'll take into account, and then work on making some modifications to the designs, and we'll keep you updated.
Okay, thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Have a good evening.
All right, you as well.
Bye.